Right. Okay. We'll commence. Thanks everyone for joining, and welcome to this webinar today. Data sharing for the circular transition in healthcare. How can the digital product passport be applied to digital health devices? Which is kindly being organised and hosted by the World Resources Forum. So thanks to them. So this afternoon, this is where the major challenge of developing the digital product passport meets the major challenge of implementing circularity in healthcare. And we'll hear from two projects in which the WE Forum is involved, which is the organisation that I work for. The first is CRISE, which is developing the digital product passport system, and this will enable ways in which to identify how electronic items can be effectively reused, recovered, and recycled. Although you'll learn a lot more about different strategies during the presentations. Just a note for now, the digital product passport is shortened to DPP, and you'll probably hear that referred to throughout the webinar. So that's just a note for now. We also hear from DiCE, and DiCE is addressing the growing problem of waste from digital devices used in healthcare, and it's looking at products right from design through manufacturing to disposal and post-use treatment. This is to enable remanufacture, refurbishment, and recycling. Okay, so just a bit of the backdrop. Of course, we all know about the DPP is embedded in the Eco Design for Sustainable Products regulation, and in turn, these two reports that are on screen now are fairly influential reports from this year. They note how crucial and central DPP is for implementing the circular economy, and how product design is very pivotal for extending lifetime of products, improving energy and resource efficiency, and also facilitating recycling. And it's predicted that the DPP will be key for making sustainable products mainstream as well. So, excuse me, what will we do today? The aims of the webinar. So we are fairly certain the DPP will be rolled out to healthcare products at some point. It will begin with other sectors, but it is meant to embrace all sectors at some point. So we'll discuss today what this will mean to the sector, what challenges the DPP will pose to healthcare, but also what challenges healthcare poses to DPP, because it's a fairly unique and heavily regulated sector. And we also pose the question: if this can be effective in healthcare, does it mean it can work in any sector? And the agenda. So a brief welcome from me, and then we will introduce the two projects. We're lucky enough to have the coordinators of the project, Christina and Els, with us today to give an overview of each of CRISE and DiCE. And then we'll get into a bit more detail about looking at what an ideal information system would look like for the healthcare sector. We have two of our researchers from the projects, Elena and Marion, outlining the DPP challenges and also the healthcare challenges for implementing DPP. We'll also have a Q&A session for 10 minutes towards the end, and then there'll be some closing remarks again from myself. Just a quick mention about the Q&A. If you can type your questions in the relevant area in the meeting window, there's a Q&A section there. We'll keep an eye on those. I think it's possible to like these as well, so we'll look at those questions that have the most likes, or the ones that come first in the order, and we'll attempt to answer those. So please feel free to enter questions in there at any point, and we'll ask those to the relevant persons during the dedicated section in the meeting. And just also to note that we are being recorded, and that's already been set in motion. So, right, without any further delay, I'll hand over to Christina, who will introduce the CRISE project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, James. So I hope I'm in charge now, or yeah. So my name is Cristina Guerreiro. I'm a research director at NILU, which is a research institute in Norway, focusing on climate and environmental issues. and I'm the coordinator of DiCE. So it's my pleasure to give you a brief presentation of the project now. So why DiCE? Europe is transitioning from a fossil fuel intensive economy to a raw materials intensive economy. This is driven by the energy and the digital transitions. And renewable energy technologies, batteries, digital devices, computers, etc., which are needed for these transitions, raise considerably the demand on critical raw materials. On the other hand, the supply of these materials is limited in Europe, which may affect the resilience of European industries seeking to achieve the Green Deal objectives and driving this green energy and digital transition. So in response to these challenges, the European Commission aims to minimize the loss of secondary raw materials within the European value chains and market and optimize their reuse across value chains. So that's motivation behind our project. Oh, sorry, it's a little bit slow. I'm in the wrong slide. Okay, sorry for this. I have some problem to steer. Okay, I hope it stays here. So DiCE stands for Circular Economy Resource Information System. It's a EU-funded research and innovation project aiming to increase sustainability and circularity of electronic products, and also aiming to increase recovery of raw materials in the European market. It will last for 4 years. We are soon in the middle of the project in December this year. It started in January last year. We have 26 partners in 12 countries, and the project will develop and pilot an information system to identify optimal solutions for the effective use, reuse, recovery, and recycling of materials. The DiCE information system will be developed and evaluated through 5 case studies, which cover ICT products, printers, solar panels, batteries, and heat pumps, which also give a good representation of important value chains in this digital and energy transition that I mentioned. And the DiCE information system interfaces with digital product passports. So what are these digital product passports? Under the Green Deal, the Eco-Design and Sustainable Products Regulation is the key regulation towards more environmentally sustainable and circular products. It entered into force in July this year, and mandates the introduction of digital product passports in order to make sustainable products the norm and boost Europe's resource independence. A digital product passport is a digital record with detailed information about the product's life cycle, including its origin, composition, for example, in terms of materials or chemicals of concern, and environmental footprint, environmental impact. It enables the exchange of information between actors in the value chain, promoting transparency, sustainability, and the development of circular economy practices. So any business introducing products in the European market will need a digital product passport for their products, starting in 2027 for batteries and followed by textiles the same year. And later on, it will also have to be introduced for products like electronic devices, energy-related products, construction products, paints, furniture, etc., etc. Its introduction is expected to continue until early 2030s, and several standards are currently being developed to be ready for the introduction of DPPs in the European market in 2027. And some of them will come already next year. Let's hope I manage. Yeah. So the CRISE information system builds on the detailed information in the product's digital product passport. It connects the information in the DPP with other information and provides tools to assess and improve the sustainability and circularity of products throughout their life cycle. CRISE is defining a set of re-criteria, what we call re-criteria, to assess the circularity of products and identify optimal solutions to increase circular strategies like durability, reusability, upgradability, repairability, and recyclability of materials. CRISE is also developing procedures and tools to calculate the social, economic, and environmental footprint of products. And all this information is added to the CRISE digital product passport and transferred along the value chain to empower actors and consumers to make sustainable choices based on the product's environmental impact and circularity potential. So thank you for your attention, and I leave the floor for the presentation on the DiCE project.
Thank you so much, Christina. So hi, everyone. My name is Elsa Schena. I'm the coordinator for the DiCE project, Digital Health in the Circular Economy, coming from J&J, and happy to present the consortium work that we're leading here. So maybe first, let's explain a little bit why DiCE is needed. We have seen some staggering statistics over the last couple of years. In 2020, 83 million units of medical wearables were placed on the market in Europe alone. And we see that this number is increasing quite exponentially year by year. It's expected to outgrow even the number that you see here in the middle of the 20% by 2027. On the other side, we also see that only a limited amount of electronic waste is currently reported as being collected. In Europe, this is 54%, so only half of it. If we look at this from a global perspective, less than 1 out of 5 of the electronic waste equipment is being reported to be collected. Now, these numbers also include your washing machine and large household appliances. And if we look at this from a small digital device perspective, these rates are known to be even lower, though not much quantified today. Obviously, these digital health devices also contain valuable raw materials and plastics and metals that could be recovered. And today, unfortunately, in the healthcare world, most of the devices end up in landfill or are being incinerated due to specific requirements around potential biocontamination or chemical contamination of these devices. So we see the crux between the two different trends. We know we have to move towards a more circular economy, also for healthcare, but we see also the increased use of digital health devices in that same sector. So a new approach is really needed, and this is where DiCE comes into play. So our mission is really to unite the key stakeholders along the entire value chain to address the challenges of this e-waste being generated by looking at this holistically. We really want to build the entire ecosystem, going from design all the way to and let's not call it end-of-life solutions anymore, but the re-solutions, as was mentioned in the previous presentation, and therefore reduce the need for new raw materials. This is also a project that has been funded under European Union's Horizon Europe program, and we're halfway the project, a bit similar like CRISE is. You'll see the partners from the different countries and the different organizations along the value chain. So it's really end-to-end that we try to connect all the stakeholders. And our real aim is to have a replicable model for the digital healthcare industry, and to James's point at the beginning, possibly other industries as well, shifting towards a more circular, sustainable model. And this will enable product reuse and recovery of valuable components and increase the resource efficiency and prevention of pollution, which is inherent also to the healthcare sector. The reason why we say it can go beyond, let's say, the healthcare sector is because, and we'll come back to that in a minute, is that the healthcare sector is very heavily regulated, one of the most severely regulated sectors there are. And if we can shift or make that transitioning possible here, we truly believe that this is possible elsewhere as well. And there's a little excuse not to have other industries move forward as well. So what do we cover? As said, we really want to look at this holistically, starting from the design perspective. We know the staggering figures from Ellen MacArthur Foundation that 70% of a footprint of a product is already determined at the design stage. So whatever we do later in terms of optimizing the product or the processes to build the product, 70% is already locked in at the design stage. So really getting design right for the different R strategies is crucial from the get-go. In healthcare, this is even more important because this comes really with a lot of regulatory updates if we do change design. So this is not something we particularly like. And additionally, when we place our products on the market, be it pharmaceuticals or medical devices, they have such a long R&D timeline that we have to look forward for at least 10 to 15 years time before they really hit the market. So we're in here already looking far in the future to drive that change. Obviously, whenever we do the eco design, we want to make sure we go in the right direction, and we can only do that by measuring. So this is why we have the life cycle assessment guiding us actually in every step of this pentagon, really making sure that we are not sacrificing something along the way. One of the key differences maybe between what DiCE is covering and other initiatives around circular economy is that we're not only focused on the technologies behind it, but also looking at the people. We have a specific focus on motivational strategies and collection, because if we design or even look at step 3, 4, 5 along the value chain, if we don't get the devices back, the whole circular principle will not work. So we really have to make sure that we get devices back and focus on optimizing those return rates to make it work. Assuming we do get the devices back in a good way, then we have to set up the reverse logistics. This is you can compare to current reverse logistics you might see for common waste streams from the household or from pharmacy, for example. But here we're really focused with specific challenges, potential devices that are contaminated. So we have to take extra care and make sure that all is safe along the way. Once they get back to remanufacturing facilities or other facilities that look at our strategies, we can make sure we can optimize the life cycle as much as we can and re-enter into the circular loop. And of course, the business models behind this also have to work. We currently have a very linear business model system. Company A buys of company B and sells to company C. Very, very straightforward how the transactions are going to be. This is less clear when we're looking at a circular loop. And also the way that you can bring value add is slightly different. So we're working with a bigger team to look at the business modeling, revisit it, if I can call it that, and make sure that we can look at that perspective as well. And of course, as mentioned, we do have all the regulatory opportunities as well as barriers that we're highlighting. And partners are really actively looking at that policy framework and hoping to identify some heat maps that will help us to overcome specific barriers. And with that, I would like to hand it back over to the CRISE team.
Thanks, Els. Yeah, we move on now to Elena from the CRISE team, as you say, and she will talk to us about.
Oh yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Elena. Yeah, go ahead.
Great. Thanks, Els. Thanks, James. I'm Elena Fernandez. I work for UNITAR, the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, and we lead the stakeholder engagement and training in the CRISE project. So I'm going I'm going to present the general challenges that we have identified related to digital product passports, or DPP. First of all, quick background information. We wanted to understand the situation concerning the digital product passports development, the challenges and opportunities that existing projects and initiatives see, and also the stakeholder expectations, their anticipated challenges, and their requirements for the implementation. And when I talk about stakeholders, it's both industry stakeholders and consumers. So we developed and distributed some questionnaires, and we also undertook some follow-up interviews with some of the respondents. So we identified 10 main challenges. The first one is the lack of resources to implement digital product passports. So respondents found that they have a lack of technical knowledge, funding, personnel, and time to implement digital product passports. They also think that there is a lack of collaboration between stakeholders, and especially some resistance from external stakeholders. So other companies in their value chain. They think that there is a lack of consistency with other, like between digital passport projects, and they would want to ensure a minimum consistency with between the projects to support material flow management in Europe. And they also think that the exploitability is a big challenge. So creating a digital product passport that complies with the global regulations, as also some of them are not fully clear, and that is exploitable. It's a challenge for many, and they also think that the potential use cases are not fully understood by stakeholders. So stakeholders might understand the concept of what a digital product passport is, but not really how this will benefit their businesses. Also, there is no clear roadmap. So many stakeholders think, well, that there is an uncertainty around the implementation roadmaps. This is also related to what I just said, that some of the regulations are not fully clear yet. And they think that creating a level playing field across the industry can help avoiding the risk of investing in something and then this would have to be changed. Sorry for that. The next challenge that they see is the easy accessibility to digital product passports. So obviously, stakeholders want DPP to be easily accessible and as accessible during the whole lifetime of the product. And yeah, they think that this can be a bit challenging because of the unique product identifier, the physical unique product identifier, which might get damaged during the lifetime of the product, but also the data contained in the digital product passport, especially for products with a long lifetime. The next challenge is the data granularity. So to recognize what information needs to be traceable, collected, validated, basically what information is really needed, as you can just input a lot of information in the digital product passport. It has to be focused on what you really need. The next challenge is data privacy. So sharing sensitive data points and intellectual property with competitors is a big concern for the industry stakeholders. The data availability. So the many industry stakeholders think that obtaining the data to be included in the digital product passport is a challenge, and the transparency and reliability of the data contained is also seen as a challenge. And lastly, the data consistency and comparability. So many stakeholders think that there is a lack of consistency in methodologies for data capture, transfer, and access, and that there is a need of an industry-wide consensus. And there is also a lack of a standardization in the calculation methods for LCA, and that if these methodologies would be standardized, that would allow comparison between the results. So even if there are a number of challenges related to DPP, there is a growing interest in digital product passports. We've seen that the standardization is a key element across the industry in different aspects. And also important to say that there are some challenges that are also seen as the potential benefits of digital product passports. So for example, when I said that data availability is a big challenge because of the challenge of tracking the supply chain, this is also seen as the main benefit for many producers, as they do want to have more information about their supply chains, and they see that digital product passports can really help with this. And I give the floor to Marion.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Elena. Hi all, I am Marion Genique. I am part of the project management office at Johnson & Johnson. So now I wanted to highlight a bit some of the challenges mentioned by Elena, but that are particularly relevant to the healthcare sector. So first of all, there's a lack of collaboration and limited engagement between different stakeholders, like manufacturers, healthcare providers, regulators, and so on, which hinders a bit the information sharing and also leads to inefficiency in the product tracking. Of course, there's also some challenges around the data privacy with high sensitive data, patient data that are highly sensitive, meaning that, oh, my slide is changing alone, sorry about that. Meaning that if we want to implement some digital product passport or circularity, we need to really ensure that data confidentiality is ensured. And then we also have the data consistency and comparability point, because data are stored often in various formats across system. And so there's some difficulty in aggregating and analyzing data due to inconsistent reporting practices. Of course, the digital product passport also brings a lot of benefits for the healthcare sector as well. So thanks to the enhanced traceability, the life cycle of the medical products can be tracked through the whole life cycle. And the digital product passport can also shed some lights on the history of the device. And by this way, it could also alleviate some challenges encountered there. For example, if we know the contamination status of a device, then conducting re-strategies would be easier. And then we also have another benefits regarding the data-driven decision-making, because if we have access to comprehensive product data, it can support evidence-based practices and also allow for better assessments of the product performance. And then finally, we also have some benefit around the regulatory compliance and reporting because of the streamlined processes for meeting this kind of requirements. And it would also allow for easier monitoring of compliance for sustainability and circularity practices. So here we wanted to show how the data flow would look like for a digital health device value chain. So here we have represented the value chain of a digital health devices. It's a very simplified value chain. Of course, in reality, it's much more complicated, but we can just go through it. So first, of course, there's the mining of the materials, of the raw materials, and the production of the parts, which are assembled together into a final product. Then there's some quality check and packaging, often some sterilization also. Then the product will be used. Once the product is used, then it will be collected. In a linear value chain, it would often be incinerated with energy recovery, but if we want to implement a more circular value chain, then we could have some re-strategy or R strategies with repair, reuse, refurbish, and of course some decontamination process included. And it's actually, as I said, much more complex than it is here, with much more intermediary steps, including some logistic steps. And also there are many more layers and diverse stakeholders that are involved, which is why there's also a lack of collaboration, which links back a bit to the challenges mentioned earlier. And among each of the steps, there's also some data sharing. And as represented here in the blue arrow around the value chain, the data flow needs to be circular, because if we want to have a circular economy and some circular business models, of course, the data also needs to become circular as well. And in the case of healthcare, we also need to take into account the data sensitivity. And in some cases, we need to wipe out some patients' data before, for example, collecting the devices. And then we wanted to present how the digital product passport would look like on digital health devices. And so here we're going to present it for the digital display label, which is a case study of the DiCE project. And to present you first what the digital display label is, I'm going to show you a small video.
Clinical trials are an essential part in the development of investigational medicinal products. An effective clinical supply chain is crucial to ensure the timely delivery of these products to healthcare professionals and the safe and effective administration to patients. Throughout the clinical trial process, investigational medicinal products need to be labelled with important information for the patient. This is often complex, as the labels need to balance around 20 regulatory elements like languages and other regional requirements. This results in inconvenient long booklet labels, and adjusting them results in waste. Introducing digital display labels, or DDLs for short. A DDL is a labelling device with an electronic paper display. It provides the same label content as a traditional paper label, but digitally. They are user-friendly, versatile, and reusable. Clinical trial.
Okay, oops. Sorry, it's a bit slow to change the slides. Okay, so now that you know what a digital display label is, we're going to look at how a digital product passport would look like for this device. So first, when the device is, the digital display label is produced, the manufacturer will generate the digital product passports. And of course, each of the components of the digital display label also have some digital product passport associated to themselves. For example, the electronic paper display or the NFC antenna. And all of this small digital so all of this digital product passports will be assembled into one for the digital display labels. And this product passport would contain different data categories, such as the product identification, the material and compositions, also some information on the maintenance, for example, how you disassemble the device. And then once the digital product passports will then enter its first use cycle at the clinical trial sites. And then after that, the healthcare professional there will update the digital product passports once the use of the digital display label is over. And so here they can update it with some information about the clinical trials, about how long the device has been used, some information on the contamination status of the device, for example. And then the device will be sent back to its manufacturer, who will scan the QR code of the digital product passport and access the CRI system to decide what to do with the digital display label. The CRI system contains some criteria, which are, for example, legal, technical, or labeling constraints that helps to determine which strategies to follow. And these criteria are informed by indicators, which are, for example, as Christina said earlier, the repairability or recyclability grade of the device. And these are calculated based on a specific methodology in the CRI system using some parameters, such as the number of cycles the device went through, the running the running time of the device, the power left of the device, and so on. And then based on the performance of these RE criteria, the CRI system will suggest if the digital display label should follow, for example, the reuse, repair, refurbish, recycling strategy. Of course, this is informative, and the manufacturer can decide on which R strategy is the best to him. And then once the manufacturer has decided which RE strategy to follow, then he or she will update the digital product passport with, for example, if a battery replacement has been done or if some decontamination has been done, etc. And then finally, the digital display label is put back into the cycle. Depending on the re-strategy used, it would go back to different parts of the life cycle. And in case of recycle, it could go back to the manufacturing, if possible, or to another sector, which is why we have put it at the beginning. So this is a bit what a digital product passport would look like for a digital display label. Of course, it's still very general information, but I hope it could give you a little glance of what it could look like. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Marion, and thanks to the presenters as well. We do have a few questions in the question and answer part of the software. So I'll go through those. I did say earlier we'd go for the ones with the greatest likes first. So there's a couple with more likes than the other. The first one is from Jamie O'Hare. This is regarding medical devices. I understand there is no plan for ESPR implementing measures for medical devices yet. Do we have an estimate of the earliest date at which DPP requirements could be implemented for medical devices? So that's Els or Marion.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one, James. It's absolutely true that there's no indication on timelines for the medical devices yet. It's clear that the medical devices are in scope of ESPR. Medicinal drugs are not. That is also very clear. What we do know is that ESPR should be read as a framework. So that means that it just gives the guiding principles for all the following implementing acts that will come later. And that we also know that they will look at what is most relevant from a consumer perspective first. So that means that as going back to the household appliances, that is probably one that will come first together with consumer electronics. When we look at the implementing acts, when we did the previous analysis, we would assume that this will come somewhere 2027, 2028 at the earliest. That's sort of our best guesstimate at the moment. Of course, this is not carved in stone. It will depend on other activities as well, but that seems to be some sort of a likely timeline for that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Els. Thanks for that answer. We'll move on then to the next question, and that's from Stam Asmar. Do you have and this is aimed at CRIs, I presume, do you have a return of investment analysis? Having DPPs will have a cost and certainly a CO2 equivalent footprint. How much CO2 equivalent can we avoid to produce per year once the DPPs are established? And when do you expect the investment to pay off?
I guess the question is for me. No, we don't have a return on investment calculation. It's also not within the scope of our project, but we are aware that the choice of different technologies for DPPs may be more or less requiring in terms of, for example, energy. At the moment, we have a blockchain technology use, which is very requiring, and we're looking at alternative solutions. And yeah, we are also aware that this may lead to a considerable investment from partners and the different players in the value chain in terms of their time to put in the necessary data into the quality control. But we expect, as the Commission does, that this will have a considerable return, both in terms of increased sustainability and circularity of products in Europe, and therefore it's worthwhile investment and regulation. We're quite confident that's the case. And we have several partners that are very impatient to get this rolling, as they see this as the opportunity and the competitive advantage within the European market to be able to sell their products, for example, heat pumps and batteries, that they have a very tough competition with the products from third countries where sustainability and circularity is not in the focus. So DPPs are also expected not only to increase resilience in terms of materials, but also in resilience in terms of European industries and their competitiveness within the European market. I hope this answers the question.
Okay, thanks a lot, Christina. Thanks for that. Moving on now, then, a question from Julianne Adams regarding the labels that Marion outlined for us. So, how are the labels powered? And I think that was answered during the presentation. Is it lithium batteries? Well, it's the button cell batteries I noticed from the presentation. But are these batteries easily removable at the end of life by the end user?
So there are two different types of digital display label, at least while the prototypes, there were two different types, one with a fixed battery and one with a removable battery. But these were still prototypes, working on them to further improve on based on the different refurbishment tests we have done, for example.
Yeah, and maybe I can add on to that, going back to the way we look at DiCE. We look at it really from a circular perspective all the way from the design start. So we have design concepts for the DDL that really made sure that indeed batteries that could be harvested easily are easily accessible. So they're not hidden under other parts, let's say. We also know and are aware of the battery regulation, of course, that really expects the batteries to be removable already. So these are things that have been taken into account. A more comprehensive overview is also provided for another category that is in DiCE, and that is on smart pillboxes, where we look at the different design strategies and how that will yeah, I agree, Julianne. They have to be removable for the recyclers, and they are part of DiCE. Absolutely, this was for the concept testing that we looked at the parts. If you're interested in further information, we can really give you an overview of some scientific papers that go into more depth of these discussions on the design part as well. But absolutely agree, Julianne, the batteries have to be removable and will be removable for the circular strategies. And I'm going to put the links for the papers in the chats for everybody to download.
Thanks, Marianne. Thanks, Els. Yeah, Julianne represents the waste recycling sector, so has a keen interest in making sure batteries are removed from these devices.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so the next one is from Naveen Kumar, and it's regarding whether instead of the digital e-screen, could we use a QR code and a website to display the data, and why is that not preferred? So there's no creation of e-waste in some countries. There's a follow-up comment, actually, I think, from Julianne regarding this, about how durable a QR code is after years of use. She cites evidence that less than 20% of QR codes can be read after 12 months. But the initial question is why not QR codes, and why the e-waste label?
Mario, I'll give the floor to you first.
Okay. Well, in the clinical trials, the labels need to be readable by a human. So if it's a QR code, of course, we're not able to read the content, which is why we have this digital display label where we can really read directly the information.
Yeah, exactly. It's really a regulatory requirement that it's human readable, as is. It cannot have any intermediate tools, which is why we can't use a QR code in this particular context.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, question for Elena from Ketty Madarova Bergstrom. You mentioned in the presentation consistency with other DPP projects. What do you mean by this? And what is the minimum you refer to in what should be done? Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, so consistency with other DPP projects in this case, what we refer to is that they are going to there are already many DPP projects and initiatives, so many different companies or projects as ours that are developing a DPP. And what the stakeholders want to see is that these digital product passports are compatible to some extent, so that I'm not a software expert, but that their softwares have at least a minimum part, let's say, that is compatible, that the information that is in the DPP is similar to some extent, so that the most important information, let's say, is included in all of these digital product passports. So basically that they are not projects that have anything to do with one another, but that they have some similarities. So what is considered most important, that they all have that, and that they are not completely independent, let's say. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Elena. Okay, next one now from Gabrielle Carmona Aparicio. Has there been any collaboration or a working group established to harmonise standards and integrate criteria with established initiatives such as the Aluminium Stewardship Initiative, the Copper Mark, or IRMA? Specifically, are there efforts to align the digital product passport for medical devices with these frameworks to streamline sustainability and ethical sourcing data integration? I open that one up to any one of the presenters, if they're able to give further information.
Not from our side, even though we are scanning both standards, what's going on in terms of standard development and some of these initiatives, but I'm not familiar with the ones mentioned here.
Okay. Perhaps it's something then to maybe follow up on after the webinar is closed. Okay, thanks for the question. A further one from Naveen. How can I implement digital passport for my product? Is there any platform available to use now? Probably a question for Christina or Elena.
And do you want to?
No, go.
I know that there are different companies that have a digital product passport, and that they can implement it. I don't think that I'm not going to give any specific name, but I know that there are some initiatives that are already rolling a digital product passport. Some of them are specific to a product, so maybe they only work with textiles. Some of them aren't. But yeah, there are some platforms available right now.
Yeah, and there are platforms being developed also in other EU-funded projects that we know about too. So there are some established and some others being developed. So there is choice out there, and as you say, Elena, some geared more towards certain sectors than others. Okay. Question for Christina: what blockchain is in use within the project?
So we have a partner, which is our digital product passport provider called Circularize, and they are the ones that developed the solution using blockchain. I don't know specifically what blockchain, but that's the technology they are using. So you could reach out to Circularize or check them out on the web, and you would find a bit more information about their DPP solution.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple of questions in the chat as well. Okay, there's a couple about the label. I don't know if you addressed this already, but is there any ISO SEN standards you would use to develop such display labels?
So maybe I can take that question. I know that there's cross-industry interest in designing digital display labels. There is an article, and I'm trying to find the link so I can put it in the chat as well, which is from ISPE. So it's a joint pharmaceutical paper where they really focus on how the digital display can help in clinical trial optimization. In terms of the design aspect, I think there DiCE is going to be leading. You should know that at the first use of such a digital display label is anticipated to be next year. So we're really trying to be ahead of the curve before this becomes common practice and make sure that these design principles are being adopted by the organizations. And I know that standardization bodies are interested in looking at this as well. So we don't have it yet today, but it's something for sure that is of interest to standardization bodies.
Thanks, Els. We're nearing the end of the Q&A session now, so I'll just one more from the Q&A section. There's Jamie O'Hare. The first tranche of implementing measures includes commodities such as steel and aluminium. And if we use such materials in the manufacture of our medical device, will we need a system to receive and share the DPP for these materials with other value chain stakeholders, for example, the recycler?
So if I'm to answer from CRI's perspective, this is exactly what we are developing and aim at providing. And even though we don't have medical devices in our pilots, it should be general enough to exactly do this. So DPPs also are supposed to be accessible from different actors in the value chain with the correct certification. They should be able to access the data that is there for them, for example, recyclers, to know bill of materials, chemicals of concern, how to dismount products, etc. And the CRI's information system, in addition to the information delivered by the DPP, should also deliver information on these three criteria that I talked about and allow the different actors to access it, including in the end some information to the public. So some of the information is confidential and only for some actors, and general information is also available to the public.
Thank you, Christina. I don't know if anyone from the DiCE project wants to add to that. We have actually one final question in the chat, and I think it's an interesting one. It talks about recyclers. It's from Julianne Adams. So with all the potential different DPP technology and software, how do the projects consider that recyclers can react? So recyclers are handling lots of different products connected to lots of different DPPs. How can that be organized?
I think that this is related to the previous question about what I meant by consistency with other DPP projects. So, as I said, I'm not a software expert, but maybe there is a way that recyclers can use only one thing, one application to scan the code, and then it would redirect them to the digital proc passport that this code belongs to, and they don't have to open a million apps to see how they can scan this. But this, of course, we would need to have a lot of communication between projects. So this kind of consistency can be achieved, and yeah, for sure, it's a complicated process.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Elena, and thanks to the other panelists who've answered these questions, and thanks to everyone who asked the questions. Some very interesting and challenging ones there, that I hope we've done our best to address. So just finally, thanks to everyone for attending this webinar, and thanks for the comments and the questions. There's some further information for for us to pursue in the chat. So thank you very much for that. We've heard today from Christina regarding the DPP and why it's considered a game changer for the electronics industry, and how it's going to be a key enabler for circularity as well, and how CERIs will hope to tackle this, and also from Els about the scale of the digital health device use and its proliferation. And also how the project aims to produce a replicable model for circularity in the healthcare sector. And then some more details from Elena and Marion of the work in the specific projects and the challenges that each project is facing. And I hope we've also addressed the benefits as well, because the challenges are many, and the benefits at the moment perhaps are outnumbered. But I think we've tried to convey what use there'll be as well when they're implemented. Just finally to say thanks again, and please scan the QR codes here that guide you to the pages on the different websites that allow you to join the network. Joining the network for each of the projects will allow you to receive the newsletter. We will be consulting with stakeholders. You'll be first to know the results as well. So please, I encourage you to join the networks for each of the projects to stay in touch and to learn more and to continue to collaborate as a stakeholder. So thanks again for attending, and thanks for the interesting presentations. And we hope to stay in touch and to see you at future events and meet you in person sometime. So thank you, and have an enjoyable rest of the day.